everyone. Welcome to today's events. Elevate your career and grow your business through storytelling and leadership. It is designed for ambitious professionals and entrepreneurs ready to transfer their, trajectory in today's rapidly, evolving space, especially with the, AI powered by AI era, where I'm deeply passionate about both as a leadership coach and a tech professionals for the last 13 years. So it is very honored to talk about today's the art of storytelling and leadership with conviction emerges as a critical differentiator. So this event is going to provide you not only the highlights of my our amazing guest Mark and myself, and also we'll deep dive into our professional stories and our personal stories as well. And we aim to actually support you and give you more insights and knowledge, or maybe perhaps like inspirations as well, to leverage this powerful storytelling tool and see how it actually supports and elevates your career and your business as well. So that being said, let's kickstart, and I will have my guest Mark today joining us. So, Mark, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit before my turn?
Sure. Thank you, Grace. So my name is Mark Solomon, and I've been a film editor for many years in Los Angeles and in London and in Montreal primarily. And I've written a new book that you can see over my shoulder, called Over the Shoulder, about my experiences and to help young people starting out in a career involving with storytelling, visual storytelling especially, and using drama and the principles of storytelling to convey the content that you create. And it's something that's close to my heart. And the thing that matters most to me is the present moment. I mean, what matters the most is what we're doing right now. And rather than go deeply into my past or what I'm going to do in the future, I want to thank Grace for the opportunity to be in this present live event. It's very meaningful to me and exhilarating to be here, and I thank you.
No worries. Okay. Yeah, that's great to have you to join today. So a little bit more about myself. So my name is Grace, and I'm your host in today's event. I'm a seasoned marketing and tech professionals and leadership coach with 13 years of professional experience in digital marketing, tech, AI, and data. And I'm fortunate enough to have worked at Microsoft and Pfizer in product marketing, as well as leading organizations like Canon in data analytics in marketing vertical, additional to numerous, some of the medium and small businesses across digital marketing and e-commerce. And I'm humble to have made contributions that help generate to up to 9-figure annual revenues for these businesses. And because of that, a permanent thought leader myself in marketing, data, and AI, and now as an AI and data advisor and consultant, I'm actually elevating leadership transformation for professionals and B2B businesses to maximize leadership, profitability, and fulfillment, ensuring not just growth, but more sustainable success. And I'm actually also an international keynote speaker in artificial intelligence, digital analytics, and digital marketing. And my next actually speaking gigs will be hosting somewhere solo and panels on AI, tech, and data track on a marketing events in London. And there will be some coming, like new ones in London and Amsterdam later this year. So feel free to connect Mark or connect to me, and we'll take it from there. So because I've been delivering a lot of speeches, speaking, and engagement, and a lot of these events, and I've figured out it is very essential to equipped with storytelling, which I find it the heart of conveying the events, the narratives, the story in a compelling and engaging manner. So that is the reason why I connected with Mark, and he spoke uh, talking about visual storytelling, particularly in film and animation industries. But I do see there are dots that we can connect today. So with that being said, what do you think about storytelling, Mark? This is a very simple yet I'm not sure if it's a difficult question to answer. From your perspective,
Well,
storytelling.
storytelling for me it humanizes information. Like if going back to when in caves, when people said, "How did the hunt go?" You'd come back and tell the story of what happened, the dangers you faced. So it's a way to convey information, to teach in a group in a way that's vivid and memorable. And using the tools today, I think in both animation and with AI, it's letting the machines run ahead with the information, and it's important to try to keep it in a way that's memorable and humanizing, and that means it engages the emotions. And storytelling is a way to engage emotionally with a group of people, with your listeners, to tell your story in a way that stays with them. And there's tools to do that. There's ways to tell stories. There's ways to build stories depending on how long they are. And all those things can sort of translate from, that sort of performing arts like theater and drama and film and television and business and startups.
Right, exactly. So when it comes to leadership, um, my understanding of leadership is, of course, it's just the art and science of motivating, guiding, and managing uh, ourselves first, and then a group of people towards achieving a common goal. And it's definitely, top qualities in leadership involve, setting a vision, making strategic decisions, and inspiring others to follow through the actions that contribute towards the realization of that vision. So, my understanding of leadership is not just sitting within a business or corporate or political like world. It is a quality that can be demonstrated in any context where someone steps up and guide a group towards a common goal. So do you have any thoughts and understanding particularly about leadership and how actually storytelling connects the dots for leadership in general from your perspective? I mean, yeah.
Well, from my perspective, there's sort of two sides of that question based on my experience. Some of it is the experience of working on a movie. It's a big enterprise involving hundreds of people, so, months or years of time. And it involves a good movie is well led. And the leadership comes from the producer or the director or whoever is the sort of primary creative voice to get people to buy in to the vision of the story and to build a team that works well together. The other side of it is the content of the stories. Like the content of the movies I've worked in, a lot of those revolve around leadership. Like the first one I did in animation was Space Jam. It was a movie with Michael Jordan, the basketball player, and Bugs Bunny and the Looney Tunes, and it was a comedy, but it was about him setting a standard of excellence for the team, that you can translate some of those messages in a fun, colorful, memorable way to whatever project you're working on. Another movie was Chicken Run, where these chickens were trying to escape their farm in the north of England. And they
Yes,
had one leader character, Ginger, who was trying to get all her comrades to work together so that they could escape a dire fate. And their their stumbling efforts to work together and then gradually becoming more of a team and realizing the importance of it is something that translates into other, in other fields. And to use these as like a story, these kinds of stories as a model for the behavior that you want your team to invest in.
yeah. I particularly resonate a lot with the chicken run. I love the story. I I can't really reckon when I firstly watched the story, but it was truly an inspiring story that I I even wanted to become that chicken. I mean, when I was a kid, yeah, and I feel like, oh my god, like being chicken is so amazing. Um,
Hmm.
but after that, like, oh, if it's like we human being eat chicken, and it's not something that's fascinating. Yeah.
And
So yeah,
think of how what you agreed to believe in watching a movie like that, because they're not real chickens. They're
yes,
plasticine. They're pieces of clay that
yeah,
have very limited expression. But
mm,
because the story is engaging, and because it's sort of a, the stakes are high, whether it's life or death, whether they're going to survive, that you invest yourself in these pieces of clay where you can see the thumbprints of the animator on their faces. It gives the audience something to engage with, that it's not being all just spoon fed to you, that you have to work to meet the story halfway. And when you can do that with no matter what kind of story you're telling, you're
hmm,
getting an engagement with the viewer, your listener, in a way that's longer lasting, instead of giving everything over to be
yeah,
passively received.
I love that. So we talk a little bit about Chicken Run. So what about yourself? Like, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your current role in the industry, and more about your career journey and how you become an expert in film and animation editing?
Sure. Well, I started out in theater, in live theater, like working with a theater troops, because I really loved that process of learning how actors think, how writers and directors think, and how to rehearse with a text and sort of make it come alive. Now, that part of it has carried me through with beyond theater to working in film and television. I became an editor, and it's editing is like a guild where it's very old school, where you
Yeah.
start as an apprentice, then you become an assistant, and you sort of gradually work your way up. And I happened to be coming into the industry at a time when there was this huge transition going on from analog to digital. And so being at the forefront of the technology was a big advantage, because I didn't have to forget older technologies, like various iterations, like the way young people starting out now, if you're starting now, artificial intelligence is part of your world. You don't have to let go of anything to embrace AI. It's the new thing. You're new to it. You have a big advantage that way. But applying lessons I learned from the theater to film, and then to editing, and then from editing live action, like regular movies, when I was working primarily as an assistant on live action movies, the transition to animation allowed me to step up to become an editor, because it was new to everybody. And
Yeah.
so I could apply the lessons that I was learning, that I brought with me from theater and that I learned from live action film, to animated films, where everybody was trying to figure out, how do you make an animated movie? And then so I did that for a number of years. I liked the people. It's collaborative, creative environment. Working with people who talk with their pencils, where they can like draw pictures as you speak and show you a beautiful sketch in 30 seconds. It can be a wonderful process.
Yeah.
But I'm at a stage now where what I want to do is sort of pass that on to young people starting out. And so being involved more with being an author of this book over the shoulder, being a teacher and a consultant for productions, is what the kind of stuff that I enjoy more now, instead of being at the cold face editing a whole movie day by day.
That's really impressive. Um, I'm not sure how much I can resonate with the old days. When I, was still in school, there already, things are getting digitalized. And now with AI, everything is changing so rapidly, right? So, but I do love all the vintage and all the, old memories that I can, reckon in my childhood. Um, and even now, even no matter how crazily I work in tech, everything is digitalized, right? in product wise and otherwise. And I still love to detach myself from digital devices and all this like internet stuff sometimes to really focus on taking a good proper rest, and also like read physical books. That's the reason why I'm still having a lot of buying a lot of physical books. Not saying that I don't like Kindle or I don't like reading digital version, but it's just yeah, with now the advancement of technology, especially powered by AI, it is not just about the technology itself. It's more about our human being, how we actually grow, adapt, and evolve in this kind of like advanced, changes. So it's really interesting to talk about the storytelling bits. So what could you probably it would be a good idea to talk about a little bit more about your book. What
Sure.
kind of like, yeah, I know you
There
have
it
it.
is.
Oh, I love it.
So over the
So,
shoulder. So I wrote that based on my experience working, because I remember when I was starting out, when I moved to Los Angeles with like just a couple $100. I was staying in this little tiny apartment, and I was trying to find my way into the movie business. I thought that editing I liked because the project was already in some ways tangible, that it wasn't just an idea floating in the air, that if it was ready for an editor, that means that there was something already shot, there was film to put together, or video, or whatever it was.
right,
And I like that, but it's a difficult way. Because it's a competitive business with no clear bar to entry. There's lots of people who want to do it, and so how do you stand out? And I what I wound up doing was I contacted the editors who had edited my favorite 10 movies, say, and wrote them a letter, and I put this in the book, and then reached out to them and sort of said, I'll be your apprentice. And that was the way that I found as a way into a competitive field. And the editors that I spoke to, I really liked them. They were tactful and diplomatic. They're used to being caught between big personalities of a director and a producer who's telling you, make it shorter, make it longer, do these things, and having to navigate personal relationships and a technical, the fast changing technical field, and the story content. Because
right,
in a way, an editor it's more than a job, it's being a host organism, that you let the movie live inside you and you make decisions based on how it feels to live with a story like this. And I wanted to share that with people starting out, to sort of pay back the editors who were kind and generous to me when I was starting out.
oh, that's really interesting how you really started um without too much around you, right? You know,
Uh,
financially, tough situation as well. So um how have you navigate your career after that? um you know
Well, after you get started, people like the origin story. That everyone likes that sort of. I went with a little beat up car with $100 in my pocket, staying in an apartment with a futon, la la la. That sort of
yeah,
hardship to entry, like the sort of the will to succeed. And then once you get sort of, you penetrate and you get in, it's like a seesaw. How can I do this? So
oh, I
at the
love that. Mhm.
scale of the role that you have, you become an apprentice, and the scale of the project. And you sort of try to navigate your way to do smaller projects where you have more responsibility and you can learn how to do the more creative tasks, or go shoot something yourself with your phone now, or a smaller movie. And then your role and the scale of the project sort of seesaw back and forth. You can keep working on, like, if you can work on a James Bond movie as an apprentice editor, that gives you a
Yeah,
recognizable title. But if you
yeah,
have a bigger role on a smaller project, you learn to do things that you didn't know before. Because on a big project like these studio pictures, it's like you're a small cog in a big machine. And sometimes it's nice to work on something smaller, where
yeah,
the responsibilities are more direct. Like you said yourself, it's good to be with a big company like Microsoft, but sometimes it's good to be with a smaller company where you have a different approach and you're asked to do different things.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that. It, there is no right or wrong or good or bad. It's big companies. Of course, it has its good things, and of course, it has some disadvantages to
Mhm.
individuals level. But it's entirely down to your vision and your preference. So, what do you want to achieve in your life? What
Mhm.
fits you better, like in terms of your personality, your character, and your strengths? Because everyone's strengths are quite different, right? So, if I'm finding myself more comfortable in working in a startup or in a smaller size of company, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just today, like people are still quite caring about the credibility. Where are
Oh.
you from? Where are you coming from? Which company are you from? If you're from FANG or tech, tech company, tier one tech companies, you will naturally more likely to gain more, visibility or attention. But that doesn't mean it's entirely, your stuff because each of like us individuals, we are all unique, down to as a person. So it's not just something about the authority or credibility. It's how you stand out as a person. You tell your stories, whether it's from a professional perspective or a personal perspective. That is the authentic you. Of course, where you're working at or where you're from is just some part of like the elements that shape who you are today. So, um, were there any pivotal moments and decisions that significantly influenced your path? For example, your understanding of storytelling or your journey to pitch investors or your journey to actually make a step up in your career.
Well, there's been several because I've been at it for a while, but one that really came to me from working in theater. Like I did one of the earliest things I did when I was living in New York, and I worked at this theater that did traditional Asian theater forms. So somehow they got a group of actors from New York to go up to Connecticut and do this like Balinese play, Japanese plays, and Indian play. And the Japanese theater has a very refined aesthetic, which I found fascinating. And they have this idea of Jo-ha-kyu, where motion goes in a beginning, middle, and end, but it comes in a rising pattern and then falls. And that's sort of Jo-ha-kyu
Yes.
is a pattern of movement it exists in the natural world, and you can describe a lot of things as having that sort of gradually building up and receding kind of energy, and that has helped me a lot in editing for animation, especially like to create this feeling of movement, create the illusion of movement by thinking about this principle of Jo-ha-kyu. Nobody else talks about Jo-ha-kyu in my world. And so I can bring something unique to the kind of projects that I get to work on. Because what I wanted in the beginning was I wanted to work with the best people. That was the thing that mattered to me. I figured if I'm working with really good, the top people, then the projects will be good, the atmosphere will be better. And that proved to be true. That was sort of what guided me. And it's good to have, it doesn't have to be the same for everybody, but it's good to have something that sort of guides your decisions about what kind of projects to take when you're in a project-based industry.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting. And we got one question here from Melissa for Mark. You in the book that you offer several tools in and long-term form like movie, you can use them well. Or what are your recommendations on short form? What if it is indeed the length of a perfume ad, like you refer in tool number 3? Wow, she's already
Very
know like
specific,
number what.
very good.
Yeah. Have you seen any short form classic examples that you can point us where they nailed one of the tactics in a book?
Sure. Um, there was a studio called Blue Sky that was like, this was an interesting thing that they did. So they had a sophisticated software set up to do lighting, so to do like lighting for an animated movie. So they could recreate the effect. In general, people were just going it spot by spot or to do an overall light or just the direction of a light. But what they came up with was a way to use the math to create the way light bounces around in an environment. So if you have a light from above, how that bounces on the table in front of you and hits up under your chin, as well as various things. So they created a story that used their strength to tell a story about a moth. That sort of, there's an old grandmother in a little hut in, like in the woods, like a fairy tale, and a moth is drawn to the light. So you see all these shots of the moth being drawn to the light. And if I'll have to remember, I'll have to find the name of that thing. I think maybe it's called Moth, but it was their sort of first thing. Or Pixar, what they did with Luxo, the lamp, where they had they created the feeling of a parent and child with these two, angle poised lamps. And to create a character out of an inanimate object is really, that you make you feel like that there's something magical to that. That it makes you care about whether the child lamp will be loved by the grown-up lamp. I mean, think of it like what you're being asked to follow. And that's about the magic of belief. That how you get people to believe in the story is that it has to cross. If the pictures just go across the screen, it's not really connecting to the audience. That it has to make people ask what happens next.
Yes.
And that sort of anticipation in the way you build tension is what draws interest. To leave space around the words you want people to remember. Playing that.
That's beautiful. I hear the word believe, and I also resonate a lot with that because that is the power of belief, right? You cultivate your audience with what you believed in and reasons behind your actions. So it is so essential, even now in today's corporate world, in a team project or working with your teammates. We got to know why first, right?
Yeah.
So why you do this? What's the reason? What is the reason behind the action? Why we need to do this before, like, we even deep dive into how, right? How to do it. So and also, like, I hear the strength. So maximize your strengths because you need to know your talents, your strength. Which in my coaching, for professionals today, in job searches, interview, pitches, client, and also all this like teamwork in a business organization, you need to know like what are your talents, what are your strengths, because it is so easy that we forget about our strengths, but really focus on our weaknesses and develop the self-doubt or we're not good enough, right? But actually, we are good enough. It's all about how you maximize your strengths and your talent, and then go ahead and keep doing it instead of, demotivating yourself by, get stuck in self-doubt and, imposter syndrome. I know it is very easy to say than to do, but it is true that, especially when it comes to leadership, it's down to the point where, as a good leader, it's exactly how I understand in a book that leader is the hero, the character in the story. So the leader is the hero to lead and inspire, motivate himself and the team to actually work toward the goal. So what do you think about, there's another questions coming in. People are so interested in storytelling tool. So is there any storytelling tool that you have used that we could use as a leadership exercise with the team or with ourselves? I actually have tools, but I'll let you go first.
I'll try one. Start at the end. that's a storytelling technique, is that you think about what the result you want, and like what's the final thing that you want your audience to feel. Like, are they meant to feel exhilarated and cheering? Are they meant to feel happy and amused? Or, I mean, what's the effect that you want them to walk away with? So, and then back your story in, so you give yourself a distance to travel to get there. So you can start from the opposite of that. That everyone, like the chickens in Chicken Run are all depressed because they're going to go into that machine. And, they eventually all work together and become heroic. They share in the leader's heroism. I think that's important. And that the way you build a team is you get people to buy into the leader's vision. So people feel like it's their story too. And I'm working on lots of movies. I mean, you see that when it's done well, when the producer really has an idea like this is going to make a real impact on people, people are going to remember this movie. This is a project that's going to have a real effect on the culture and the society and on kids. The wonderful thing about animation is that it reaches young people, and that the stories that you work on will be a part of their life. And that motivates you to try really hard and polish every pixel and make something that's worth the attention. Does that answer your
Amazing.
question?
Yes, definitely. I agreed, and my answer is sort of like something exactly like what you just said.
Uh-huh.
What I also wanted to add is I love to integrate manifesting into leadership, because when, for example, in a situation where conflicts or chaos triggers, right? So as a leader, we we actually embody that our mindset, our behavior into our leadership development. In front of the chaos, or in front of the conflicts, the situations, always uh, focus on observing, step back a little bit from the reactions from the situation, focus on why, because I love problem solving so much. What is exactly the problem, right? How do you feel in this scenario? um, how do you see the whole picture, that you can step back, find a problem, why has caused that problem, what you can do as a leader to actually motivate the team to achieve their goals, and to uplift them to achieve their goals as well. So that is also when handling with a lot of different conflicts, competitors, right, and a lot of different chaoses. How, as a leader, handling that situation first, and then also integrate the effective storytelling techniques along the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have other questions coming in. Uh, how does one make a presence and memorable pitch on a phone call to a producer? Yes, not sure. Can Camille, you unmute yourself? You can definitely, ask, questions to Mark directly. Um, so, Mark, it is a question about if you're going to have a pitch via a phone call. There's no Zoom call. You can't see people's faces. To pitch
Mm-hmm.
a producer, how do you make a presence and memorable pitch via a phone call to a producer? So
Well, you have
if
the
Camille, you
tool of
can
your voice.
unmute. Sorry, if Camille, you can unmute yourself to ask a little bit more. It's entirely up to you, but I can always, um, convey the message for you as well. The questions. Yeah.
Does she want to speak?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. If you have your voice, you use the tool. The most important thing is to hook someone's interest with the first thing you say, so that why should they be interested? Why should I care about this story?
Yes.
Why, you have to get past that hurdle, and you can try a million different things, or whether it's instinctive or trying it out on people, so that you have some hook that the first thing you say captures interest. And then if what you have is your voice, you use the tools of vocal communication, that you can whisper, and that you can be very loud, and that you can speak slowly or quickly, and modulate your voice to create some dynamic, so that you can use Johaku, like so you have a hook in the beginning, you build interest in the story that's coming, the interest gathers, and then you go faster and faster until you finally say, and then Margot Robbie kisses the hero, and the two of them ride off into the sunset, or whatever it's going to be. But you build to a moment where the story opens like a flower, is the idea.
That's beautiful. It's really insightful.
Try that.
Especially when you can't really show your facial expressions, right? Now, whereas like us, and now in the call, we can see each other's faces at least, but in a phone call, it's hard to show that. But you can definitely showcase your voice and your tone while the call. It's definitely working as well. Yeah.
And practice, whether that's sort of a 2-minute, like an elevator pitch, or whether it's a 5, or how long do you expect to be speaking, and leave open spaces for people to interject.
Yes. And also, another very amazing tip that I can give is, before you start pitching, or before you start, delivering, the speech or presentation, when I, was ready to stand on stage and present or to talk, I always give myself 5 to 10 minutes just alone, and raise my vibrational energy. Camille, you definitely resonate with that, and start to get immersed in the whole environment. So already start to visualize how you're already talking to that producer. So if your heartbeat is getting faster, that is a good sign. Don't get me wrong. It could be quite, probably you're nervous, but at the same time, you're excited. That excitement, you get into that excitement and you're ready to go. So give yourself 5 to 10 minutes before the call or the presentation, the talk, and then immerse yourself into the visualization of talking to someone that's really important to you, of course, the producer, in this case. So that is my tip whenever I present, whenever I speak on stage in front of thousands of audience. I know I still got nervous somehow, but I do love the feeling, the sense of excitement. So I'm not sure if it would be very helpful to to you, Camille. Let me know if you have questions around the phone call with producer. It is essentially challenging in today's world, where people are using Zoom. We can see each other's faces, and hope it can give you some insights. And we have a lot more questions coming in. Thank you, guys. For you, Mark, would you care to expand the declare victory and move one? The freelance life is rife with highs and lows. How does one declare victory when faced with a high disappointment?
Okay, things happen, right? Everything doesn't always go the way you want. The movies, projects can go south in a million different ways. You can get fired. The movie can be you can make the movie and it turns out not to be good. It can be good and then nobody goes to see it. It can be good and people go to see it, but the reviews are bad. There's a million things places where you can run into an obstacle, a challenge, a setback. And I think the only thing that's kept me sane through doing this for a long time on lots of different projects is to just take on board the idea that, what did I learn from this? What can I take forward from this? What do I need to let go of and never think about again? And what can I take from this, like the relationships with the people, or I learn something about motivating people, even if it's negative. Like the way this leader handled the crew, I would never do that because I saw the result. And so that's something that I can learn and you can take with you. So you reach the end point of the project, you let go of what you can, you decide what you want to take with you, and you go on to the next one and don't hang on to it. Hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely.
Does someone want to hear about Johar Q more, Lawrence?
Sorry? Oh,
I see something in the chat about explaining Johar Q.
I have several chats.
I'm looking at one, a comment from Jenny replying to Lawrence. I can just speak briefly about that.
Melissa said, yes, explain more. Okay.
Joe, J-O, Joe is a beginning.
Joanne, is it? Joanne.
Okay, Johar Q. Joe is the beginning. So what matters at the start of a movement, because Johar Q is describing movement.
Oh, I'm checking chat. Sorry about that. So I have several tabs open. And I'm listening to you.
Briefly. So Joe is the beginning.
Yeah, Joe.
What matters with Joe is that it's going in a particular direction. That it's gone from stillness to movement. You've chosen a direction. That's Joe. Ha is rising action. So that it either builds momentum, builds speed, builds the challenges that are being faced, builds an army of people gathering to do it. Ha, rising action. So start in a direction. Ha is the rising tension. And Q, K-Y-U, is the turning point. And then the momentum has built up, the energy is built up to a moment where it's at a peak, and then it starts again. Think about the way like a wave crashes on the beach. So that it swells, it rises and turns, and then bang, and then starts again. And that sort of rising and falling rhythm in a
rise and falls and turning point.
Yes, and so it keeps it from being too regular and plotted. Like if every step feels the same, the rhythm can feel boring. If it goes da 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 da, you're building in a natural feeling of some kind of building momentum.
Yes,
you can carry through even if the content doesn't make sense.
Indeed,
it's a tool you can use.
Yes. Do you think it is also a good way, the techniques for future leaders develop when they need to enhance their storytelling ability? Do you think this Johar Q is also a good tool and framework for future leaders to develop, to enhance the storytelling? Because we got a question from Trish. Thank you. What skills should future leaders develop to enhance their storytelling ability in an increasingly digital and globalized world? Wow, that's a fantastic, questions.
Shall I take a go at it? I mean, empathy. That a leader has empathy and can understand, you can put yourself in the shoes of the people you're speaking to, that you're looking to persuade. That if you're faking that it means something to you, it's not going to come across as genuine. If you can really be in touch with why it's important to you and why you need a team to contribute to it, that everybody's contribution is important, and that it's not about serving the leader but serving the cause, then you're more likely to get people to see you as somebody who can lead the project on going forward. And look at the stories. There's a lot of battlefield stories that are whether from Homer, from the Odyssey and the Iliad, or from the latest movies about what's happening in various battlefields now, but you look at what the leader brings to the story, and how can you apply that to the people that you're looking to engage and motivate.
Empathy is definitely also a very essential leadership quality.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to really think and see and feel in someone else's shoes and be able to uplift them to achieve their goals. That is what a good and true leader could do. And I hear one thing that I really like personal is leadership is about
Yeah.
serving people, serving others, rather than throwing at rank or overpowering people. So, is there any, great stories that you can share about serving people and how serving people can, be really, really embedded into future leadership development, and of course, with within the storytelling.
Well, there's stories that are meaningful to me that I've liked. I mean, like movies that remind me of that. I've been watching war movies lately, so some of it has to do with the sort of battlefield stuff. So Mel Gibson is an actor that I worked on a couple of different projects with. One that he directed, and he was a voice in Chicken Run, the voice of the rooster Rocky. And he did a movie, I think it's called Hacksaw Ridge, where he played a conscientious objector who volunteered to go join the military. So he didn't want to carry a gun, but he was willing to go fight. But he was willing to go to the war zone without having a weapon. And so he became like a medical officer. And he does this incredibly heroic thing of saving people, injured soldiers, and bringing them back to safety over and over during a battle scene. And he sacrificed himself for he wanted to be a part of the unit he was with, and was willing to, at great personal sacrifice, lead the other people to safety. And this character, who had been ridiculed by all these other guys for the whole rest of the movie, by the end they look at him with they couldn't speak because they admired him so much, because he gave up his own person. He didn't do it for himself. He worked for others and was willing to sacrifice himself. And that kind of, people love those kind of stories. I mean, it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring. As a hero, as a leader, sacrifice themselves for greater good.
Mm-hmm.
I also ask, I believe like we all have our stories, and our stories not just limited to one, right? So out of so many stories, how do we choose the story when we have so many of them that could fit?
Well, I think it's good practice, I have found, to understand your own life as a story, and think about how you would tell your life story as a dramatic story. What would be the parts that you would skip over, like a montage? What were the parts where the big pivotal points? And you can exaggerate or overly sharpen the points that you want to emphasize, so that you make the point that not only were you won a contest for your classroom, but you say that you was a victory that over a whole school, or you can make it bigger. And so in the practice of storytelling, you decide what to exaggerate and what to minimize. And what would make your getting used to seeing your life as a story gets you more familiar with how stories work.
Yes. And also know about your audience.
Yes.
And when you deliver the story, you got to know who you are talking to, particularly, for example, like in marketing or in a business world. When we do a marketing campaign, or we run a marketing campaign, or write a compelling stories and content, we need to know who we are speaking to. What type of audience are you talking to? What is there an effective way to actually uh, help your audience resonate with what you offer with a particular story that you're proud of or you're passionate about? And also, um, why knowing your audience is so important also is when in presentation in business. One of the points I always mentor and coach my peers or other colleagues is, when we do the presentation, we got to understand what, like, who is the audience and why do they want to listen to what we're telling. When we do the presentation, when we do the storytelling, who are they? Who are the audience? Why you're doing this presentation? From their perspective, what they're expecting to hear. If there are a finance director or if there are a technical professional, what their expectations could be quite different. So, and of course, I'm not saying that you have to be completely tailored for each individuals when you do the storytelling and presentation, but um, at some level, you still need to know like what they love to hear from their perspective. And that is quite challenging because if you can do the presentation and storytelling, that's really can resonate with that can be resonated by your audience, and you can also already think about the questions that they would be asking. So you're sort of like leading your audience with your story that you already prepared and you're proud of, you're confident about, and you sort of can have more preparations in terms of Q&A sessions, for example, in a presentation or in a storytelling or in a public speaking. So, and that could also develop your confidence as well. A lot of people think, oh, I can't really, foresee like what audience are asking. Of course, there's some lot of scenarios where people just out of nowhere ask some random questions. But if you know your audience well enough beforehand, you think in their shoes, right? The empathy bit, and you start to look at your stories that can truly resonate with them. So that is my insights as well, on top of Mark's amazing insights in terms of choosing storytelling. In terms of choosing stories in storytelling to audience. Yeah.
It's interesting in the movie business how what you're saying about audience it really resonates with me. And the way they do that marketing for movies is they divide the audience into quadrants,
Yes, that's
like
a different thing.
young boys, young girls,
Yes.
mothers and fathers, boys and girls. And the idea for a lot of projects is that if it's in a expensive production like a big studio animated movie, you want to reach all four quadrants. So you have jokes for the dads, you have things for the moms to like, you have something for the younger audience as well, so that everybody gets something out of it. But if you're focusing on a particular quadrant, like put yourself in their shoes. What do they want from this? Why did they come, and what do they want from this? And so that you can provide as like what you're talking about before, like as a service.
That's really beautiful. So another, opinion from our audience is, Trish said that she thinks the best way is to choose one or two compelling examples, build this up, and leave it at that. She thinks, Mark, you also, also advised similar, like Trish is a DEI, diversity, inclusive, I'm not like DEI expert and leadership coach. So when Trish gets this sometimes, especially with diversity, this kind of topic, and to, coach corporates, coach business, it's very, good about, preparing one or two compelling examples, build this up, and live it at that. So
I
thank
agree
you,
with
Trish.
that.
Thank you for your input as well. That's really inspiring. And yeah, so Wow, time flies. Can you believe we just talked about like for 55 minutes? And is there any other questions coming in? I love you guys' input and I love all the interactions. It's not just me and Mark, talking. We love to hear your thoughts and your questions. So um unfortunately, time doesn't allow us to, keep going with all these amazing topics, but we would love to, keep the conversations going on. I mean, continue with. If there's any, chance that you guys are interested, feel free to, connect to Mark or me. So is there a way for people to connect to you, Mark? Or let me drop a link in the Amazon if anyone is interested in buying Mark's book. Yes, and
It's fun. It's not thick and easy to read.
yes,
Maybe we should think
drop
about
a
a
link.
sequel. We were
Okay,
talking about
Trish,
movies.
you're interested. Nice, amazing. Yes, please, Trish, have a look at the book on Amazon. I put the link in the chat. There should be a link in the chat as well already.
For this call.
Yes.
Good.
And also feel free to connect to Mark if you're interested in knowing more about storytelling from his perspective and his experience and his amazing insights. And for me, if you guys are interested in knowing a little bit more about leadership, and especially if you're working in tech and AI, B2B businesses, I love to connect to you guys. And I'll just put a link that if you're interested in, booking a call with me or chatting with me, that's totally amazing. So I'll leave my calendar. I will leave my calendar link on here if any one of you are interested in talking to me, particularly around technology, AI, and leadership development. Feel free to connect to me. Yeah. Oh,
Great.
Melissa, you already bought the book. Amazing. Great.
Thanks, Claudia.
Any last questions? I love to ask like last questions. No, guys, no. Okay, so let's wrap up today's amazing event. So as we said, like leadership and also storytelling are a lifelong journey. So it's the process of us to continue to grow, expand, and become a better version of ourselves. No matter you're a leader or you're working in different industries, it doesn't really matter as long as you know the techniques and the true understanding of storytelling, which is amazing today. Like what Mark's share a lot of this amazing insights around storytelling and also how storytelling can be integrated in the leadership development as well. So thank you so much, guys. Mark, thank you so much. I mean, I know this is quite a quick one that we managed to put everything together. And I'm so glad that people are so interactive and people are interested in your experience and your book, particularly.
It's a
And I
pleasure.
love to support you by whatever I can, like this. And if there's a chance in the future that I definitely want to welcome you back to join me.
Sequel. We'll do a sequel.
Oh, love it. Love it. Doors are open. Yes. So next time,
Grace. I really enjoyed it.
yes,
And
we'll,
it's great
talk
to hear
about.
from everybody and what they have to input and what people want to know about. I'm happy to talk to you more. You can reach me on LinkedIn.
Yes. Mark, maybe you can run your series and I can be your guest talking about a lot more others as well. So, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And feel free to have a read at Mark's book. The links, I put it on Amazon, and also feel free
And
to
there's a
vote.
recording of this meeting that will be available? Good. I think people are asking about a recording.
Yes, there will be a recording. No worries, guys. So there will be a recording after today's events, and make sure for those of you who would not be able to join today's meeting. Oh my God, call! I have so many meetings. Calls, and feel free to watch the replay. And we're here to answer your questions. So feel free to let us know if you have any questions.
Great.
Congratulations again, Mark, your book. I don't have a book, so I love to see people's, amazing, wisdom, and I read the book already in advance, and it's just amazing. So guys, check out the Amazon link. It's like I'm doing a YouTube or something like that. Guys, check it out. Yeah. Anyway, so amazing. So thank you very much, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Mark.
bye. Thank you,
guys.
Grace. It's been a
Cheers.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to leave.